Please join me in Gassho as I read the words of our founder, Master Shinran Shonin. More difficult even than trust in the teachings of Shakyamuni's lifetime, it is the true entrusting of the universal vow. The sutra teaches that it is the most difficult of all difficulties, that nothing surpasses this difficulty. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, Namanda, Namanda. Good morning, everyone. Well, full disclosure, I'm a little sore in the body right now. This August has been quite busy, and July was also just as busy. And I would first like to thank all the members and the community members, the friends and families and associates and beyond, for all of the hard work and all of the selfless giving that was given to the Tacoma Buddhist Temple for their help in Obon. Our Obon was very successful, and the attendance was wonderful. And sadly, I understand that not many of you were able to see the fruits of the labor, especially the outside, because you were so busy working inside the temple and below in the kitchens and filling countless orders and spending even time outside of Obon, either helping with cleanup or helping with setup and prep. All of this work goes into a festival. And when I think about it, attending these events as a child, it's easy to take these events for granted. Attending them as a guest, right? I as a youth, I would go to these Obon festivals. I would Obon hop, as we would call it. Go to many different festivals throughout the year, or throughout the summer, I should say. And my favorite, of course, was going to San Jose's Obon, because they had, I think, the largest. That they would have like over 1,200 dancers sometimes on the street there in Japantown. It was huge. And again, I would just take it for granted, that these events would happen every year. And that, okay, this year I'm going to Obon, this year I'm going to do this. And of course, the pandemic came and really shook that up and made me realize that, nothing in life is ever guaranteed. I'm also feeling just a little bit, just the tiniest bit of the sting of loss and defeat, as we once again were not able to attain the trophy from Seattle Betsuin and the softball tournament. We played very hard. Tacoma played very hard, and I couldn't ask for a better team and a greater coach than Coach Ikeda. And of course, who's always there to remind us, right, that it's not about winning, it's not about beating the other side, it's about having fun, and really trying to make sure that we see this as a friendly competition as opposed to getting too competitive. And all of these wonderful things have also been happening, and these, for example, for those of you who had the energy, and I don't know how you did, and that's probably why some of these folks are not here at Temple today, but after the softball game, many people made the trek up to Seattle to see the retiring number of Ichiro, the former Seattle Mariner, which was a huge event and a huge to-do. They even had his number imprinted on the baseball field, right? That's how big of an event this was. And of course, one of my friends from California was actually up here to see this and stayed for almost a week in Seattle to see all of this. So many events happening, so many wonderful opportunities to go out and mingle with friends and to celebrate things. But another aspect and another time was also grabbing my attention. In my house, we always have NHK World. This is the Japanese news network, right? NHK World online, on the television. That's pretty much the only news media we watch these days now is NHK World. Without going too much into it, I really have grown tired of American media, of American news media, frankly, but not to get too far into that, but I trust now more like outside sources reporting on what's going on than sources from within. And one of the things that was brought up, especially, was this past week is the anniversary of the ending of World War II, which also means it's the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombs being dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This is always a huge event in Japan, a huge memorial that takes place. And this is because in a flash of an instant, thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of lives were lost and obliterated away. And this is actually a reminder for all of us of how ugly war can be. And in this time as well, Japan takes it upon itself to constantly and to consistently push forward the message of peace, which is why they have that memorial in Hiroshima, as well as one in Nagasaki as well. It is so important for us to remember that there was a time when weapons that, in my opinion, should never have been created were unleashed upon a people. And it's true, yes, Japan is also responsible for many war atrocities as well. However, this does not mean that in my personal opinion, that the atomic bombs were ever justified. I don't think that Japan's actions during the war were justified or were good, or were, or that the atomic bomb took away the atrocities that Japan committed. But this doesn't relieve the United States of its burden as well, for we are still the only country in the world to have used this power on a people. And it's very sad because, Japan has consistently pushed forward since that time a message of peace and hopes of the demolishing and the non-use and the taking away the power of nuclear weapons in this world. And sadly, I will have to say, the world has not listened. We have not lessened the amounts of nuclear weapons that we have carried in this world. We have only increased them. More countries are finding ways to utilize this power. With the amount of nuclear weapons that the world has now, it is possible for all the powerful countries in the world to destroy society as we know it. And this is a very scary thought to me. But hearing about this, it makes me very grateful and glad that as another day passes, a weapon was not used. And at the same time, this message of peace is still not heeded by the world. And the United States, yes, I will admit, is complicit in this as well. We are not a peaceful bystanding nation, as we may like to think we are. Buddhism teaches us the message of interdependence, right? That all of our actions have a rippling effect. That the choices that we make today don't affect just myself, but affect others as well. The fact that we are so powerful means that we have even more responsibility to ensure the peace of this world. And ensuring peace does not mean more weapons. Ensuring peace does not mean more conflict. Destroying a people to provide security is not the way to go. This is why I actually did the quote of today. More difficult even than trusting in the teaching of Shakyamuni's lifetime, it is true in trusting of the eternal vow. The sutra teaches that it is the most difficult of all difficulties, that nothing surpasses this difficulty. And what is that teaching? The teaching is Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu literally meaning I take refuge in the Buddha of infinite light and infinite life. There is a lot of layers to this teaching, but one of them is to take yourself out of the equation, to realize that I myself alone cannot fully attain enlightenment without the help and the wisdom and compassion of Amida Buddha. Yet, in this time that we are in, the modern time that we are in, science has advanced our place in life. we are living longer, healthier in a sense. We know now more about all the scientific developments that have come through this world. We have been able to, stretch our lives longer, live our lives more comfortably, and have information given to us in a second. And yet, at the same time, it is very sad to me that with all of this technology and with all of this advancement, we still have not yet solved the human problem of greed, anger, and ignorance. And this is why I believe Buddhism is so important, that the teaching of Buddhism is needed now more than ever. Buddhism teaches us that all of our actions are connected with other beings. Buddhism teaches us that the choices that we make today may have a rippling effect to people you may not even know. Buddhism teaches us that things are always changing. But one of the most important things I think that our sect of Buddhism teaches us is how limited we are in our own ability to make this world this Buddha land that we hope it to be. This is why Amida Buddha exists. This Amida Buddha exists not to give us an excuse to behave badly, okay? Amida Buddha exists to remind us of how far we still have yet to go before we can even think that we are above the fold of the human condition. This is why I love our teaching, because it continues to ground me, as myself and my brother will tell you without hesitation. This teaching continues to ground me as my arrogance continues to grow, as my conceitedness starts to show through. Some of you may think of me as a nice person. I don't know. Some of you may think of me as a kind and wonderful sensei, but I'm probably not. If anything, I am more real, most likely, when I'm with my family than I am with, everyone around us. I shouldn't say that. I should say I wear different hats in different occasions. But I think my most true self is with my brother and my family. And I love to give my brother grief. I love to get on my father's nerves, and I love to argue with my mother. But if there's one thing that I know that continues to shine light upon my imperfect self, it is Amida Buddha's wisdom and compassion. Because how hard it is for me to give up myself and trust in the teachings. If everyone gave up their own egos and trusted in the teachings, it's true that the world would be a better place. But you know what? That's not the world we live in. And we can't even say that about ourselves, Buddhists ourselves. We can't even say that about, us. We can't even say I'm totally selfless and totally perfect and totally, at the top of enlightenment. That's not who we are. We are imperfect beings. And this is why Amida Buddha exists for us, solely for our benefit. In this world today, and how we can see that there is still an immense amount of suffering, whether it be through wars that are needlessly fought over pieces of land that people have attachments to, or if it's through natural disasters when there's an earthquake and a warning of tsunamis, or hurricanes, or tornadoes, other aspects as well. It's very sad to see that the world sometimes still goes into this route of selfishness. We protect our own. We only care about, our people. This is my problem, not yours, or that's their problem, not ours. If only we were able to truly embody the teachings of Buddhism on a daily basis. And at the same time, Jodo Shinshu doesn't force us to be these perfect people either. Jodo Shinshu, the teaching of the Buddha, accepts us for who we are as imperfect. And in fact, because of our imperfect selves, this teaching was created. Every once in a while, when we can take a step back from our own egos and our own perfect versions of ourselves that we see in the mirror, or that we try to see in the mirror, and realize that we still are unenlightened beings, we are reminded of the wisdom and compassion that is given to us freely by the Buddha of infinite light and infinite life. This teaching is meant for us and us alone. This teaching is meant for me and me alone. When I stand up here and give these Dharma talks, right, many of you may think, some of you may think, and I'm guilty of this too, right? Oh, that's perfect for my brother to hear. Oh, that's perfect for my wife to hear. Oh, that's perfect for this other person to hear. This other person should listen to this, right? But in reality, this one is meant for you. Just you alone. Just me alone. That's how we should be listening to this Dharma, which is why, in my personal opinion, this Wasan from Shinran Shoni makes sense. So difficult is it to accept this. When we hear about the imperfection of the human race or of people, it's so easy to think, oh yeah, that person over there is so imperfect. That person on TV that we see all the time, what an imperfect person. And yet, how often do we turn that focus back onto ourselves? How often do we ask ourselves, am I like that too? If I were in the same position, would I be any different? The most important person we have to convince of these teachings are ourselves. When we hear these teachings, we have to ask ourselves, do I truly listen? Do I truly listen to Namo Amida Butsu and what that means? And when we think about this, right, as soon as we start saying or thinking, that this person over there may not be embodying the teaching so well, right? And I'm not saying that we shouldn't call out bad behavior or, things that are incorrect in the world. But I think that with every moment that we focus on other people's imperfections, that should also be given back to us as well. Remember, being Buddhist doesn't give you this impenetrable shield of, goodness or mindfulness, right? It means that you take refuge in the Buddhist teachings. It means that this teaching speaks to you. That's what it means. It doesn't have anything necessarily to do with your character, with my character, or with our conduct in life. I hope that the conduct and that the message continues to speak to us. But it doesn't always, that doesn't always get through. But at the end of the day, and as we hopefully make it, and as we make it to tomorrow, and as we've made it to this day, let us remember that nothing in life is ever guaranteed, that decisions have an effect on all people, and that the Nembutsu is the universal vow of wisdom and compassion. So with this in mind, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you very much for attending this service today. I'd like to keep my Dharma talk a little bit on the shorter side because I know it's a little bit hot. And as I close, please, once you leave temple or once you come to hydrate, try your best to stay cool and say the Nembutsu. Please join me in Gassho. More difficult even than trust in the teachings of Shakyamuni's lifetime is the true entrusting of the universal vow. The sutra teaches that it is the most difficult of all difficulties, that nothing surpasses this difficulty. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Nam mandaps, nam mandaps, nam mandaps.